my friends. Okay, so I'm making up my list, and as I was making up my list, I thought about you. I am now in the middle, just about the middle of June. I am looking at the fact is, by November, I usually like to be able to have as much as my pantry filled as possible. Now, this year, against all the other past 3 to 4 years that I've been doing this, my whole pantry has to change. It boils down to my pantry has to accommodate Mediterranean low carb. So I'm having to make out a list. Frankly, I get to this point thinking time is running short, and it literally is. Now I am still waiting on my garden, so I do have tomatoes. I'm going to use what I have out of my tomatoes. I'm going to use what I have out of my green beans. I'm going to try to get what I can out of this, and if I have to add to it, I will not be downing myself because I'm going to do what it takes. What I decided to do as I was writing everything down is to maybe help include some of you. There are some of you who do like I do, and you will do your pantry challenge, or you will stock your pantries for the winter like I do. Now I only do this seasonally. I'd like to be able to do more, and sometimes my seasonals will last throughout the year. But for the most part, I try to go by seasonally. Now, I may end up changing this at some point. We have to see how things are going right now. We just had some news that we're going to deal with, and I'm not going to mention it at the moment, but I'm in a position now is I have to really start thinking about my future. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do, I am going to give you some ideas, what I'm finding very helpful, economically being able to do what I'm doing. I will take you at this point, at the midpoint, I guess you could say, of doing my pantry challenge, because we are into the 6th month, and so I have July, August, September, and October. I have 4 months. I like to be done by November. However, I will tell you, canning does not have to be just a one season thing. I have canned dried beans and certain other things in the winter time as well if I have to. So it's not saying it has to be that way, but on certain seasonals like tomatoes and green beans, unfortunately, yes, those are, and I have to get this stuff done. But I want my pantries done as much as possible. So some of the economical stuff and some things we're using that I am putting on my shelf, and I'm going to share it with you. Certain type of beans, and I'm not doing all of them. Now, there are some beans my husband wanted, and frankly, they're going to last him a good long time. He wanted northern beans with ham. I won't be eating them much. He has to eat them occasionally and by portion, so those will last a while. The ones that I see us using the most, and especially me, and I want you to write these down. This, I believe, will be very helpful, especially those who are on the Mediterranean like me, trying to figure out how to maintain it. And then if you're in the category where you're doing Mediterranean plus you're doing diabetic, so these I'm hoping are going to help you. Now, for just the Mediterranean and the occasional diabetic, here are some of the beans that are a bit easier, although you still have to watch it. Even I do. I can't overindulge. I have to portion them, but beans are one of the legumes, and beans, those are highly advised in the Mediterranean diet. So here's the ones I'm stocking on. Now, you can do this one or two ways. I do have some red, like kidney beans, in the dry form. Now, instead of buying the can, for $1.24, I bought a 1 pound bag. Now, I'm going to take this 1 pound bag and I'm going to pressure can them and put them on my shelf. So I found it actually probably better. I will see how many pints that I will get out of this, which is about 16 ounces. Basically just slightly more than a 15-ounce can that you're going to buy at the grocery store. So I will see how many I can get out of this for $1.25, basically. And so light or kidney beans is one of them. Another one would be cannelli beans. Now, unless you're fortunate than I am, I'm not finding dried cannelli beans to can my own. I am finding them at Walmart for 78 cents a can. If you can find them cheaper than that, cannelli beans are an excellent and very well used bean in the Mediterranean world. Another bean is black beans, and the other high ranked one used is chickpeas or garbanzos. That would be where your hummus sources come from as well. So of those, out of all the beans, the kidney, cannelli, black beans, chickpeas, these are the four main beans used in the Mediterranean diet. As far as legumes, that would consist of your lentils, red, brown, green, whatever. Lentils. Lentils is an absolute used necessity. I will get into some of the wheats you can start putting in your pantry too. I may look into some of them, but there's only one particularly we'll get into that I like. And that's not saying you have to do what I do. I'm just giving suggestions for everybody. So, other pantry items that are useful. Before I go on to the list of more useful, let me take you to what I do have done, because this is going to help both Mediterranean and diabetics to give you an idea. And then I'm going to show or tell you how I'm actually doing some of this. When you see it, you're like, are you doing this at once? Absolutely not. I've been doing this for a couple months now, y'all. So let me show you how I'm doing this, what I've done, and what is a good item to put in your pantry, and how to do it efficiently, economically, safely, and without everything all at once. Smart shopping is what I call it. So let's go take that tour to, I have been doing this now since March. We've been doing this March, April, May, and June, so it's 3 months. So let's go take a trip where we're at right now, and mind you, we are not done, but I'll show you where we're at. Okay, y'all, so up here, those mixed greens that we've been doing videos with, these are my mixed greens right here. We are slowly accumulating. Like I told you, every small batch adds up. These are our mixed greens. These were perfect to use for Mediterranean and absolutely beautiful for a diabetic. We have our beef broth. Now this has been done since, actually, a lot of this was done in February too. So my stocks, we have been working on this for quite some time to get that built up, because we use a lot of stocks. And that one is beef. This here, we did this canning session together where we did a meal in a jar. This was good for diabetics as well, where we can make chicken and dumplings or whatever we needed to for a meal. Even the Mediterranean chicken lemon soup. Down here we have some of my kidney beans. Now these are run over from last winter's stocks, but I will have to put some more. These are my cannelli beans, and I have been doing this a little at a time. Every week or every 2 weeks, I will take and purchase 3 or 4 cans. Anything that I will not run over my budget, or I will not hurt us or anybody else on the shelf. Every little bit counts, and this is what I've been doing for this. Now I have 1 jar left, which these are runovers from last winter, is a thing of black-eyed peas. And then we still have some of those ham and beans that my husband wanted. I will not be doing any more of these because I think we have quite a bit. The chickpeas, and again, I have used some of these, but these will have to be redone because I need to do this for all winter long. Those are one of those Mediterranean staples that is used often. This also falls in the line, just like the black beans, the cannellis, and the kidneys, of the lower glycemics. But I will advise that whenever you use these to cook with, always rinse and drain your beans to remove the starches, because that does help. Down here is our other stocks. This is our smaller versions of beef stock and our chicken stocks. So all of this shelf from here on over is all our chicken, turkey, and pint jars beef stocks. I am very much good on stocks, and it's possible I could do some more. So if I run out, like I said, in some ways I'm still using some of this now as well. So if I have to, I can do that. And this is another one of those, I can do them in the winter if absolutely needed to. Now for me, because my husband cannot have this, and I would not advise corn for a diabetic, it is a sugar base that will spike you royally. Those who are on Mediterranean, they do use this as a good fiber source, but I will also say they use corn very sparingly. This is my stock from last year. It's still run over. I will not be doing any more of this, but I will use what I have. So this is my stock, what's left of my tomato sources, and this absolutely needs to be replaced. I need my ketchup, tomato paste, tomato sauce. All of this needs to be replaced because that is all I have left. This will not last me all winter, so I definitely have to do more. Now the green beans that we've done, now I do have this mixed in here with my other jars because honestly that was our first canning in our green beans, and we have a small batch of 4 pints. So we're working on this one. Now this next item right here, I have been learning to stock up on my olive oil. The reason for this is I never know where our prices are going. However, the only way I'm able to do this, because this can get extremely expensive, I will look at our budget through the week. If I cannot do this by the week, I do this every other week, and I will buy 1 bottle a week, and I will store it in this pantry. And so far, we're doing good, and I don't plan on stopping because I do not want to have to buy olive oil this winter. I don't know where things are going, y'all, and I am going to make sure that me and my husband are taken care of. Olive oil is one of those top oils, whether it be, now here's for you. Mine is olive oil. You can choose any you want to do the same thing, whether it's avocado oil, whether it's coconut oil, avocado oil, any bases that you are using, whether even if it's ghee. Do 1 container or 1 every 2 weeks or once a week. You can add this up, and you can do this without hurting the shelves, without hurting your budget, and this is ways of stocking. Now the others is, these are sardines, and these make a good power snack for diabetics and Mediterranean. So if you can get a deal on sardines, again, use those. So they can even make a nice power pack lunch snack. So basically this is what we're doing. I am doing some Duke's mayonnaise down here at the bottom. I'm doing this a little at a time. So basically this is where we're at. I still have not done the meats. These are run over from winter, and I need to get this stocked up as well. So this is definitely my next section also, and I still have a lot more to add to this. So we're gonna go back and discuss some more of these things. Okay, y'all, so yes, I am stocking on my olive oils and things like that because I am finding under the Mediterranean lifestyle, there are certain things I want to be able to incorporate into my diet and make sure I have it. Like I said, I have some uncertainties in my life right now, so I am looking at my head and I'm going to see where we're going, but I'm going to make sure that our pantry is stocked for whatever. So, as I stated, I've got some ketchup. Now my ketchup for a diabetic will be no sugar based. So same with all of my sauces and whatever else. We still could use some salsa. Salsa is another good one to use Mediterranean, or if you wanted to as a diabetic, you can make this into a snack using a low carb pita, which that has been one of my videos and I shared that with y'all. So you can make salsas as well and have that as a snack base, perfect to put on your shelf and enjoy all winter long. Meals in a jar. As you've seen, we started out with the chicken base. We make chicken soup, chicken dumplings, and all this stuff. Another meal in a jar that can be safely used as well for a diabetic is some homemade chili. Chili can definitely be canned. Now, mind you, this is all pressure canned food. All meats, anything low acidic has to be pressure canned. That's just my preference. I know everybody has their own preference, but this is for me. So I'll just tell you the way I do things, and you can take it from there. I am going to be looking at leaner meats, which means my stock on my shelf would consist of turkey meat, chickens. If I do a beef, it's going to be a lean beef. Same with my hamburger. Everything I am going to do is going to be more leaner on my shelf. That goes with my freezer as well. I would say now some of the here's some basic herbs I would keep on hand, whether they're fresh or whether they're dried. Now the winter time is hard basically to get fresh unless you grow them indoors. The basic herbs that I am seeing in the Mediterranean world would be parsley, garlic, basil, mint, at least these four. Red pepper flakes is another one. Paprika is one. Cumin and coriander is another. These are herbs you want to keep on hand if you're using the Mediterranean diet. In the seasoning you will find in a lot of the recipes that we will be using on these videos, these are the ingredients that are most well used. Now they use a lot of the fresh. We can't always get the fresh unless you're fortunate to live in a country where they have that fresh market constantly, and I envy those people because I would love to have something like that. But unfortunately we don't, and the ones that we do have are so high, they're like the grocery store. I don't even bother going anymore. I'd rather grow my own. So I'm going to grow what I can, and what I can't, it's going to be what it is. Now, lemons. Lemons are another one that we will want to be able to have for the winter. Whether it be fresh lemon or bottled lemon juice, both will work. So I may get some bottled lemon juice so that I can use it as well. It doesn't always have to be a fresh one as much as they taste better. Bottled lemon juice is another one which I'm going to write on my list that I want to keep because I need lemon all the time. So lemon juice is another one. Beverages, basically now I don't do sodas. Maybe every once in a while I will. Water I do a lot of. My favorite though is coffee and tea. So I would stock my pantry with coffee and tea. I plan on trying to do more teas this year, different flavors. I'm even growing my own. So I would suggest some tea. I still had some run over on my coffee from last season, which I actually got blessed on that. I found a fantastic deal at a auction, believe it or not, and I still have some left over, so I'm using it. I've been using it all winter long too. So freezer items and fresh foods. Bell peppers, onions. These are things that you can have. You can freeze them. You can use them all winter long in various different dishes. Now, in a salad, I understand that would be hard. In cooked meals, they're absolutely perfect to use, and it's something to have on hand. So what I would, if this were me, and what I plan on doing, now onions, I'll have to purchase them because I didn't get to raise any, but I do have I have some peppers, so I will be chopping them up. I will be freezing them. When I have these meals that I'm cooking that requires bell peppers and that, I'm going to add them to my dishes, saving me money, leaving me buying the fresh for my salad sources only, or in whatever else that requires fresh. So it will cut my cost to have these readily available in my pantry. A couple other things you can do is maybe stock up on some nuts like pecans and walnuts. You can absolutely freeze these. These are items you would want, especially even on your shelf, to use to snack on. Nuts and seeds are an amazing snack, or can be used in any of your meals. They are used both in Mediterranean and low carb because it does not spike a diabetic. It is good for your heart and your health. So I would look into nuts as well, and seeds. As far as anything else right now, unless I can come up with something different, these are the basics. There are many other ways of preserving in many other situations that I may find, and if I do, I will constantly keep you up to date. We will do a final pantry tour when I am done, because I am also in another area here. I am adding my teas, which I am growing. Like I told you, I have the anise hyssop. I have some mullein, which is used for colds and flus, to break up any bronchitis or whatever in chest. So I will be drying that out for teas, for medicinals. I have roses to make rose tea or rose water. So I do have some other things that I'm also making for teas. And then I am seeing if I can find a sale, whether it be green tea, black tea, making my own Thai tea, because again, not only am I a coffee snob, but I'm also a tea snob. I love flavors, and tea is an amazing thing in the wintertime. Personally, I'm going to replace my hot cocoa for a nice cup of hot tea instead. It's healthier for my body, and I'm going to stay away from that sugar. That would be another thing you'd want to put on your shelf, a sugar source. For both Mediterranean and low carb, basically. Now for Mediterranean, for me, I'm gonna try both though, because I'm trying to steer away from the sugars as much. Now I will use my alternatives. I will maybe get a couple bottles of pure maple syrup, although I priced them today, and wow, y'all, they're expensive. So right now I'm kind of putting the brakes on that. But I have honey. We have our own bee apiaries, so I will make my own stock of honey to put on my shelf and use that as a substitute. I can use regular honey or sugar, or raw sugar, or a brown sugar, but I won't be doing too much of that. Also for my husband, I will be using sugar alternatives. I want these in my pantry so that I will be able to keep us sustained throughout the winter time. So these are a few ideas. I'm hoping I'm helping you in any of this. So we're looking at seasonings. We're looking at what to stock on our pantry shelves. A couple other things you can do if you wanted to. I'm not a fan of them, but these are ideas for others. In the Mediterranean, this works out well. In the diabetic, minimize it, because the cooked carrots can tend to spike, but in portion it doesn't hurt my husband either, so we don't use a whole lot of it. But carrots are another one. For those who are Mediterranean only, I would not advise you for those who are diabetic, but those who are Mediterranean only, you can. Some of the canning books have a beautiful herbed potato. The potatoes are beautiful. As far as I have literally in the past, I canned some of them, and they were cooked yet firm enough. They were not mushy whatsoever. I could actually make a potato salad out of them. They had a nice texture to it. So you can can some potatoes. You can dehydrate potatoes as well and put them on your pantry to use for making maybe an au gratin or something like that. I wouldn't use them constantly, but that's something you can do. You can also freeze your own hash browns. So potatoes is a source that you can freeze, dehydrate, or can. You can store them in your pantry as well throughout the winter. If you were going to do that, I would say At the point that you're going to start your pantry challenge, if you do that, or at your stopping point, that's when I would purchase my potatoes and put them in a cool, dark place. At that point, they will last you and sustain you through the winter before they go bad. The same goes for your sweet potatoes. So if you want to use them fresh, absolutely, but wait till your last moment to stock on that, then put it in your pantry. Another thing that will last, and I have found, now I did not do this with store-bought, however, I did do this with spaghetti squash. We were given a big blessing of spaghetti squash, and so I tested this out. Some of them were not quite ripe, so I had to season them outside. Once they became yellow and they were ready for my pantry, I took those spaghetti squash and I put them in my pantry, cool, dark place again, just like my potatoes. Those spaghetti squash lasted me from, let's see, I received them in September or October, and they lasted me all the way to February. February was my very last one that I used, and it was absolutely perfect. It was like, it amazed me. So spaghetti squash will last an entire winter on your pantry shelf. Store-bought, I cannot guarantee you. First of all, I do not know how old they are. Second of all, I don't know what kind of process they went through before they hit the stores. And as we found, a lot of things that we're buying deteriorate a lot quicker than if we are farm raising them ourselves. I am only speaking about farm raised or those who are homegrown that have lasted us. So, and I knew for a fact that these were homegrown. They will last you, so that is another item. Yes, diabetic. However, I will say use those sparingly as well, because we have found that will spike slightly on my husband, but it's safe alternative for a pasta base. So yes, spaghetti squash is an absolute necessity, that, well, not necessity, but an absolute benefit, okay, for Mediterranean and for diabetic to put on your pantry for those of us who are homesteading and preppers. We'll put it that way. Long, stable items, again, would be your acorn squash. That is another one that you can put on your shelf. Butternut squash. Now, butternut squash could be stored fresh for a couple months, or canned, or frozen. Pumpkin is another one that can be canned in chunks. It can be frozen, or it can preserve on your shelf. So these are items. Your squash bases are really good sources to store up on your shelf for a winter. Let's see if I can think of anything else. I would think of some meats. Now, if I'm going to do my pantry, I'm going to do lean meats under Mediterranean. Mediterranean is a lean source because we stay fit and trim. Basically, it is helping me along with diet. So I would look into lean meats like skinless chicken, or even if you get chicken thighs and you got a great deal and they got skin, you can remove the skins from them. If you are low carb diabetic, you can actually keep your skins on it, because the low carb lifestyle tend to use that fat to fight against fat for losing weight. Other than that, it's really not a necessity if it's just for sugar stability. So if you're doing low carb, that's the only time the fat would come in. So otherwise, you can remove that fat. Fish is an absolute beautiful protein that you can store in your freezer, that every plate, diabetic and Mediterranean life, can benefit from. I keep my red meats to an occasional along with pork. For me, I don't know about my husband right now, but as for me, I am backing back away from the pork so much because frankly, I don't like all that fat. I want to be able to stay where I'm at, and I'm going to make healthier choices and executive decisions for me that's going to require that. especially when I'm working out. I don't want to have to work out as hard as I have to because I've decided to put something I know is not that good for my body. It's one of those occasionals, but that's just me. Same with my sugary foods. I'm going to choose differently for those. All right, another one, Mediterranean style, not so much diabetic. Mediterranean style, there are certain type of pastas. Now, one of the betters, they say whole grain, and I have been learning this. The orzo is used quite a bit in Mediterranean. The farro is another one. Occasionally they will use a semolina durum, like angel hair pasta. Now mind you, these are not used every day of the week. These are choices maybe once or twice a week, if that. So these are things you can put on your pantry. They will last you quite a while, but you're going to use those. Those are your sparinglies. Another grain you can put on your shelf, which these are the ones I use. I use wild rice. You can use brown rice. I don't use that one, but you can use this. So there's wild rice, brown rice, quinoa. Quinoa is another one. Couscous is another one. Let me think of some others that they come up with. These are used for your healthy grains, they call it, fiber sources. I have been paying attention to these certain types. Occasionally they will use a ganache, ganaches, or however, ganoches. They will use those. I wouldn't advise it, but that's not me. This is for you. These are just ideas that are used, some of these products, in the Mediterranean. Sometimes they will use a panini, but like I said, those are the occasional uses between once to twice a week, maybe every other week. But you can have a pasta. Bread. You can pre-make bread, make your slices, put it in your freezer, and use it as you go. I do this all the time now. But my bread sources are either sourdough, whole wheat, or sources like this. I will make another type of breads that are used in Mediterranean are pita breads. Another one would be your, I'm not sure if I pronounced this right, the foisha or focaccia, or fokishi, whatever. But it's that beautiful square bread with the little indents all over it. That is another one. So you can cut these up. Naan bread is another source, and they can, I also included for diabetics, you can make up your chaffles, or even, well, they call it chaffles, the ones made with cheese. I'm talking like the Wonder Breads or the chocolate waffles, things that you can use in other parts of your diet to make a sandwich or desserts or whatever. You can make up a bunch of those, put them in your freezer, and have them ready this winter. You can make you up some homemade pita or turn it into naan. Both those ways, and I have that video linked, or well, not linked, but in our stocks in here. So these are things you can do as well to prepare for the winter, so you don't have to work hard throughout the winter. You just, basically, you're going to use everything that you stocked up. So if I come up with any more at this point, I will let you know. I'm hoping this list helps you some. I do know that I will probably be making some more Dijon mustard. That is also in our videos. So these are things that I am looking on the healthier side of life to put in my pantry, stocking up this year, and staying away from the junk and processed foods. If I come up with any more, I will absolutely let you know. I'm hoping these lists help you. And until next time, much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead.